Get your hands on stylish t-shirts, hoodies, and more at wearbuff.com. That's wearbuff.com. And make sure to use the promo code TWB at checkout for 20% off your first order. Stay Buffalo proud with Wear Buff. The Buffalo Bills win their third straight game, taking down the Seattle Seahawks 31-10 this week on the Wandering Buffalo podcast.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your host, Justin Goddard.
Bills Mafia, welcome in and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show on the Buffalo FamBase podcast network. My name is Justin. I am your host today, and another win for the Bills. That's 3 straight on the season. 3 straight for this season, and just a great all-around game. And honestly, the score being 31-10, that's super fun. I don't think it really gives full justice to what the game looked like out there. And I will say a little bit on Seattle. I was talking to one of my buddies during the game, and it was honestly like all of these opportunities that Seattle was just blasting themselves in the foot. Some scoring drives they were putting together that just didn't come away with points. There was 2 possessions they had. They got the ball inside of our 10-yard line, and they came away with no points. It was just not a great day for Seattle, but on the other hand, there was somebody stopping them from making the plays too. And, Seattle ends up with 10 points. It's kind of a garbage touchdown in there when the game's already well in hand. I will say that this game was so decisive that something happened to me that does not happen very often. And it was probably about 6-7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and I dozed off. Usually a lot of these Bills games are, giving me a heart attack late into the fourth quarter. Had to go back and rewatch some of this game because I was sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden I woke up and the game was over. Honestly, always really fun for me when that happens. That we're just chilling so much that I take a little snooze there. Starting out on the offensive side of the ball, I got to start out with James Cook. He had an absolutely phenomenal game. 17 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, adds 3 catches for another 22 yards. And with credit to James Cook here, I think he was running super decisive, showing great vision. He's getting through creases. He's not dancing in the hole. I got to give the props to the offensive line here too. They've been playing great this year, in particular in the running game. I think we still see occasional issues in the passing game, which is also kind of seemingly cleaned up really well. But one of the things with this show is I don't always focus on the trenches. It's hard for me to get my full evaluation on. I watch the All-22s when I can, but I have a super busy schedule. I think I just need to take a moment to give props to the offensive line, not just for this game, but this season so far. And there was some change with Mitch Morse headed to the Jaguars, McGovern headed over to center, David Edwards into the starting 5, and I had some question marks on that going into the season. I had a prediction in there at one point that McGovern might kick back over and we'd see Van Pren Granger. All incorrect takes, all moot points. The offensive line has come together real nice. They're doing a great job. Staying on the ground game, Ray Davis, 6 carries for 29 yards. Obviously, limited touches for him in this game, but just continues to be impressive when he gets his opportunities. Love to see the physicality that he runs with, and maybe not the same kind of breakaway speed juice as James Cook, But I mean, he gets his foot in the ground and he's going downhill. So love what we're seeing from the rookie thus far. Josh Allen in this game, 24 of 34, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have his pick. Honestly, the pick was coming eventually. I'm kind of glad to have this narrative over. It was super fun that everybody wanted to pile on his interceptions last year, ignore, how many touchdowns he had, all that. It's just Josh Allen throws interceptions, and that was all people are talking about. It was super fun going, 7 weeks with no picks, and honestly, like I said, it was going to happen eventually. All quarterbacks throw picks, especially ones that are as aggressive as Josh Allen is. For it to come in a game that was an absolute blowout, to see the way the interception happened too is just kind of, okay, whatever, it happened. We heard a couple weeks ago Josh Allen talking about, I have thrown picks this year, they just haven't come down with the ball. This one was one that Amari Cooper seemingly slips at the top of the route, and it's pretty tight coverage. If he doesn't slip there, maybe it's a pass breakup. Maybe they're competing for the ball. I don't think it's an interception, though. Either way, 1 on the season. Super fun to be at the end of week 8, and Josh Allen has 1 interception thrown. In the receiving game, a lot of good here, and again, kind of carrying the theme of the everybody eats that we've been talking about all year. I talked last week about, we can still have the everybody eats strategy, but when we're talking about everybody, let's narrow down who it is. And I think we saw that this week. Khalil Shakir, 9 catches on 10 targets, 107 yards. Keon Coleman with another big game. And for me, this isn't just what we see on the stat box. It's kind of the development that we're seeing from him. The route running is improving. The trust and the chemistry between Josh Allen and Keon Coleman is improving. He had a day he went 5 of 7 for 70 yards and a touchdown. And what I particularly liked about his touchdown is like 2 plays before, they ran like the exact same thing to the other side of the field. It was super close. 2 plays later, running to the other side of the field, and he comes down with it. So I thought that was super, super cool to see them give the Joe Brady, Josh Allen, give him another chance at it. And then beyond that, for Keon Coleman to finish the play. Dawson Knox getting involved, and this is about the role that I was expecting from him this season, and we haven't seen a ton of. This is my exact recipe for what Dawson Knox should be in this passing offense. Kind of gets his couple opportunities as an afterthought with all the other weapons that we have. And he pulls in 2 catches for 50 yards. And it's not even like, there was a 140-yard catch that really, boosted this number. His long on the day was 27, so the other one, 23. 2 big plays for him. He run blocks. Kincaid's your receiving option at tight end, and Knox has shown the capability and the chemistry with Allen to make plays when his number's called. So, some of his drops in the past, all that, we don't need him getting 10 targets a game, but if he can slip free when the defense isn't paying attention and haul in 120-yard pass a game, even better if it's 2. The aforementioned Dalton Kincaid here, 4 catches on 7 targets, 31 yards, and he also had a touchdown. The one name that we're not really calling here is Amari Cooper, and, he had 1 catch on the day on 2 targets for 3 yards. I, see varying degrees of commentary on Amari Cooper's game. I think this is part of the strategy with having a guy like Amari Cooper. Like, he's a dude that you could spend the whole season funneling 150, 140 targets to and have some great success. I think the difference between him and Diggs is this is the type of thing that coaching staff went to Diggs with, and they're like, hey, some weeks you're going to be, more of a diversion than anything, and if we're winning games, your guys around you are being successful, like, that's the plan. Some weeks you're going to get your 12 targets and you're going to go crazy. And obviously, I'll never be behind the closed doors. I'll never hear what those conversations sounded like. But Diggs was a dude that wanted to get his catches. He wanted to get his targets. Totally understandable. I think Amari Cooper is kind of just that Bills DNA, the quiet, humble, and hungry guy. I think he wants to win, and I think there's going to be games that look like this where the defense game plans all week to stop Amari Cooper. And, oh, yeah, we have all these other guys that you have to worry about. So, all around good news there. Hopefully, Amari Cooper is a little bit more involved in the offense. But as long as we're winning games 31-10, that's fine by me. Anybody can have one catch for 3 yards, and if it means that we win 31-10, I'm going to take it. Defensively, obviously, all around a great day. Like I said earlier, there were some drives where Seattle was really moving the ball, and we were able to put the clamps on and stop them from getting points. 7 of their points kind of coming in garbage time. Is what it is. Bills are able to pick off Geno Smith. And I just kind of want to put the caveat on there that this defense is continuing to perform like this. And it's a game where we didn't have Terrell Bernard. We still don't have Matt Milano. Von Miller's still out on his suspension. So, we're already leaning pretty heavy into our depth. Not to mention Dwayne Carter goes out, and he's on at least short-term IR, needed a surgery. So kind of like all of these factors adding up, and the defense still holds the Seahawks to 10 total points. And this is a team that likes to throw the ball a ton. They are leading the league in pass attempts, and just I think came into this game with the wrong strategy. If you're watching the Bills games, you know where the Bills are shaky, and it's in the run defense. And they have a couple of good running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Combined for the game, 12 carries for 16 yards, and then you have your leading rusher for the Seahawks being Geno Smith with 5 carries for 16 yards. So absolutely nothing doing on the ground. And I do think this is a bit to do with the game script of, the Bills taking a lead and kind of forcing Seattle into being one-dimensional, even if this was a game where they wanted to focus on getting the ground game going. We already know it's not their bread and butter. It's not what they prefer. To be able to control the game script like that and, not only be able to take the run game off the menu for them, but to also smack them in the face with our run game. It just really controlled the clock. It controlled possessions. It controlled how the game felt. And just all around, just straight dominating. Taron Johnson leading the team with 8 total tackles. Rasul Douglas had second with 6. He also had a tackle for loss. We had Javon Solomon got in there for a sack. Just all around, I do think that the defensive line is an area that could possibly see an upgrade as we get closer to the trade deadline if we're thinking about what else the Bills might be able to do. But I think in getting Von Miller back, you kind of got part of that. Groot has been playing great this season, and it's not always showing up in the box scores, but he's all over the backfield, causing pressures, causing chaos. Good, solid in the run game. And then we see guys like Eli Anku had to get called up this week with Dwayne Carter out, and he comes in and he's making plays. Austin Johnson comes away with the big man interception. And it's just contributions from all over the team and just all around a great, decisive victory. Getting into special teams, Tyler Bass, he didn't have to do much, but we know his struggles that he was having, so I'm going to applaud him when he has a good game. 5 total field goals, 4 of them extra points, 1 of them from 27 yards out. He hits all 5. Would love to see in a game like this, maybe a situation where he can kick a 40, 50-yard field goal without a lot of pressure. But, I'm not going to deny the touchdowns to get him a practice run. It's just something I'd like to see for myself. A little bit more of a pressure kick, a little bit more distance, and in a real in-game setting. Codrington, this is my very small note of things that I didn't like. Codrington, fielding a kick from their own goal line. Don't love that. I think that's kind of like we go back to preseason, and I was talking to my guy Vince Taylor about this. If you're listening to the show, you've probably heard of Vince Taylor before. He's done some podcasts. Great guy. Great dude to talk football with. He was talking about going back to preseason. This is that type of decision is what got Daquan Hardy cut. He was drafted, and Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane talked about his return abilities, and he ended up being a real surprise cut to me because I thought he looked, better at cornerback than I thought he would, and the special teams were going to be, just an extra bonus for him. Don't love seeing that return from Codrington. Just let it go, man. I get it. I don't get to see the field the way he's seen the field. Maybe he saw a seam. Maybe he thought he was going to make a play. Just with how in hand the game already is, I said this for years for like ball security on special teams when we'd have like McKenzie back there and we had some fumble issues and all that. Like, Josh Allen is your quarterback running this offense. The number one thing I want to see from my special teams is making sure he's getting the ball back. And yes, nothing terrible happened here, but to field that kick on your own goal line, there's just so many more negative things that can happen than the thin chance of like the super big, impactful, return it to the 50 or return for a touchdown type deal. It's just the probability of that happening versus the chances of fumbling it. Now they have it inside their own 10 or inside your 10. Just too much danger there, especially with the game script that we had going on in this game. Just don't want to see it. Up ahead, we have the Miami Dolphins in Week 9, and they did get Tua back this week and end up still dropping a heartbreaking loss. And looking at the rest of the division now, it's funny how things can change so much over, 2 months worth of football. And we had, all these national media talking heads talking about Miami's the biggest competition. No, the Jets are the biggest competition. They're going to go win the Super Bowl. And now 2 months into the season, the Bills sit at 6-2 with a 4-game lead on anybody else in the division. They're all sitting at 2-6. Now, Miami does have a little bit built in of, their starting quarterback goes down and misses extended time. Most teams aren't really even going 500 in that stretch. So they get a little bit of a pass for me. But, you get your quarterback in week 8 and you're still not able to come away with the win. And honestly, at this point, for anybody else in the division to even be thinking about a wild card spot for the playoffs, you're almost talking winning out at this point, depending on how the rest of the conference shakes out. But it's not looking very promising for any of these other teams in the division. So I'm feeling like sitting here week 9, we pretty much have the chance to just put Miami's season to rest. I mean, they take their 7th loss on the season. They have to come into Orchard Park. The Bills are, streaking right now, 3 games in a row. And, there's no love lost between these two teams. And last year it was the Bills coming in and taking that 1 seed or the division from the Dolphins in the last game of the season. Now it's your second time seeing them this year, and in week 9 you could pretty well effectively be ending their season. So I think that the Bills are going to come in fired up for this one. I think you're going to get a desperate Miami team, not really holding anything back. We'll see what happens. Sorry, this one's a little bit of a shorter episode. I've been dealing with a cold all weekend, trying to get the episode in for you here. But we are, like I said, we're on to Miami. Make sure you're tuned in next week so we can get the breakdown of the Miami game. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the shows. And we will be here this time next week. As always, go Bills.